Welcome back to Monday All Weekend. We're here,
Yeah.
So
First,
big.
let's talk a little bit about Last of Us Episode 3. Interesting episode, to say the least. And, a lot of people aren't jiving with it.
Okay.
So, obviously, there's it's a deviation from the rest of the show.
Right.
We're following a narrative that's happening in the past.
Yeah.
Right? For almost the entire episode.
Yeah.
Which, it's not necessarily a bad thing to do because they did it in the first episode, but the way that they did it in this episode didn't lend much to the primary story.
Yeah.
Which is what we need.
I know for us, we walked away from the episode and we had a conversation. We said it wasn't like terrible, but they could have told the whole episode in like 10 minutes, maybe even less, and then got back to Joel and Ellie.
Yeah, and let's be clear. So the filming obviously is good. The acting is good. The music is good. The issue we had is with the story that they tell, that they decide to tell.
Yeah.
And so we know the main characters in this episode, Bill and Frank, are from the game. Frank, you don't see in the game, and Bill, you actually interact with as Ellie and Joel.
Yeah.
They meet him, which is a big deviation in this episode, how it ends.
Correct.
So some of the stuff I think a lot of people are upset about is the way that they decided to tell this story rather than going with kind of what the games did, right? It was more of a love story rather than
survival
apocalypse, which is weird. They survive for 20 years in an apocalypse, and we see like almost no cordyceps and only one attack from humans.
Yeah.
Well, one attack they decided to show us on screen.
Right.
Now maybe Bill's fence became more equipped at holding back everyone, so all they had to do was sit back and watch.
So let's add a little bit of context for those who haven't played the video game. We haven't played the video game, but I wanted to know what the deviations were and how they told the story in the video game.
Right.
So very briefly, the same characters are mentioned in the video game, and they live together for a long time. Frank starts to experience cabin fever, and they start to argue a lot. So
which we saw in the episode.
See in the episode, but he leaves to go get a car battery because he wants to get out of here. He wants to get a truck running so that they can leave.
Right.
Bill is afraid. He wants to stay behind his traps. That's his big thing. He likes his traps and he wants to stay protected behind the traps.
Right.
Frank leaves. He gets bitten. He leaves a note basically saying, "I hate you. I think you were a coward, and you wanted to stay behind your traps." And it's very mean, but also clear. It's the kind of mean that is like
that cuts deep.
That cuts deep.
Yeah.
That shows that these two had a pretty
vulnerable relationship,
like a deep history together with each other,
for sure.
And then when you interact with Bill in the game, he's very jaded. He's kind of built up his traps to the point of just like they'll hurt anybody, even Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the story picks up in the game. There's a lot of banter between Ellie and Bill that a lot of people enjoy. Where they in the TV show, they basically just do a love story with no conflict.
Yeah, and then Joel and Ellie come after they die. They're both dead.
So in isolation, it's not a bad story. It just does nothing for the primary story of this show.
Yeah.
And might we also acknowledge, I think the whole time everybody, like between us, we're saying Up did a much better job of telling a more emotionally compelling story
Yeah.
in 6 minutes then this thing took an hour straight to tell that ultimately led to nothing almost that's going to be consequential for the rest of the season.
So the people who enjoy the video game are upset that Bill is kind of neutered in this version. You get to see who Bill is in the first 5 minutes,
right,
where he's doing all his prepper stuff, but you don't get to see that jaded Bill after Frank is gone, right? And that's why some people are upset, is because you don't get those interactions that he has with Ellie and Joel.
I mean, they introduce a character and then they give character development to somebody, they introduce them, and then in the same episode they kill them off.
Yeah.
And with only the purpose of getting supplies and stuff for Ellie and Joel, which doesn't seem very worth it.
Right.
And it was just a one-off episode that didn't quite...
Felt like a filler episode.
Yeah.
It felt like a long episode where nothing happens.
Yeah. And to be frank with you, they should have left Bill alive.
Right.
That would have been a much more interesting narrative. I mean, I might have forgiven a lot more of the episode if we're like, okay, so we're getting back on track with where the game was telling a story. So now we get the jaded Bill, Because his last giving moment was to kill Frank willingly so that he didn't die in pain.
See,
right?
I totally assumed he was going to, let Frank commit suicide, and because I knew Bill was in the game and he interacted with Ellie and Joel, but I didn't. And then I thought, oh, he's taking stuff too. Maybe he'll survive that and it'll make him really upset, but he's not going to try it again.
No. Right.
I don't know. I just and also the pacing and the storytelling with these two characters felt off. It felt weird.
It felt like Frank gave nothing to that relationship or the survival. Honestly.
Exactly, and
it seemed like a little bit of a diva.
So you have somebody who comes in who doesn't provide anything, and ultimately makes the main character Bill kind of less in the end.
Right.
And I don't know. It just it didn't feel. It didn't provide anything new. It didn't add anything to our primary story. It didn't give any kind of context to the kind of relationship that, Ellie and Joel have.
Right.
No.
I
mean, except for the first few minutes at the beginning and end, which were not.
But I mean, I'm talking like in the relationship. If you're doing a relationship episode, you need to have it give context to the primary relationship, which is Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
So if you're not using the story to inform the viewers about the primary story, you're doing everybody a disservice. Plus, I mean, nothing happens. They just live peacefully for 20 years.
It's very far-fetched, and honestly, I was more engaged with the beginning of the episode with Joel and Tess's little bunker where they keep, supplies to stock up. That whole basement scene with Ellie and the clicker. I was more interested in that than the whole town that Bill has built up and fortified that Frank comes into I guess on the permission of Bill, and then they become lovers.
Frank just kind of like takes over. I mean, even after eating Bill's food, he's like, "Look at this piano. I'm gonna sit down and play."
And he does a bad job.
Yeah, he just comes in and takes over and provides almost nothing. I mean, he saves Bill's life and he plants some strawberries, and I guess he's a companion. But ultimately,
and he is the glue for how Bill knows anybody.
Right. But, it just doesn't add, the way the game tells it, there's this level of strife between them. There's cabin fever. There's, differences in personality in the same way that all relationships have.
Right.
Yeah.
In this, they have one little spat, and that's
they're good.
And then they're good.
Yeah.
There's no complexity. There's no depth.
Which honestly, I don't know. If we're gonna get a whole episode, yeah, we need to see more depth to it. But in the same breath, we're saying this was a poor choice to give a whole episode to, especially if you're not keeping Bill around.
Right.
It's just frustrating. You get to the end of the episode and you're like, what the crap did I just watch? Episode 1, awesome. Love the backstory. Love the start of this story, the adventure, or the mission. Episode 2, incredible. We see the death of Tess. We see the clickers up close. We see that, zombie style hiding from zombies or hiding from velociraptor style kind of scenes. And then we get a love story that ends up going nowhere. It's really freaking frustrating.
Provides nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm not against love stories.
Yeah. I just wish they would have more context and be informative and
leave Bill alive.
Give something to the rest of the episode.
Let us know what you think in the chat or when this goes live. The comments down below. Let us know what you thought about episode 3, and then what you're thinking about the show in general.
What did you like about this episode? Because I think it was few and far between. There was stuff to like about the episode.
I like Nick Offerman's piano playing and singing. That was pretty nice.
I will say
his piano playing was okay.
The actors did a great job.
Yeah.
There wasn't any performances that were unbelievable. All of these actors are pretty professional. Good job to everybody acting.
I think it's just the writing concept for this episode.
And if this is the kind of this is the kind of stuff that I think bodes ill for the future if we're writing episodes in this manner. So, yeah. Tell us what you guys think. Did you like the episode? Did you dislike the episode? Where do we sit on this?
Yeah. I honestly just want episode 4 to feel like episode 2.
I just want more Joel and Ellie.
That's what we want.
We'll get Joel and Ellie. We still have 7 more episodes. Seven more episodes. I don't know. I couldn't do math for a second. Is that all you guys had?
Yeah. Let's move on.
Let's quickly. I want to plug something real quick. Just go ahead. If you guys are watching, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We'd really appreciate it. Hit the bell and like the video, just so you can see more videos like this. If you're enjoying this conversation, we want you to interact with us in the chat. So please do. Let's go ahead and go on to the next little topic here.